we're just gonna do this until it. We're live. We're live. We're doing this. We don't got the budget, y'all. Okay.
We're live, so live.
We are live, and you're still not. We don't have the all budget, y'all. Okay, we got this. Hi, y'all. Peace to them. I am Zainab Baloch. I am here with you on this Friday. Happy Ramadan. Happy Ramadan. Happy Friday. You gotta go on mute. That's why. It's yeah. There you go. Now we're good. Sorry, y'all. Sorry for the tech difficulties. I am here today. I'm Zainab Baloch. I am the co-founder of Young Americans Protest, YAP, and
I'm Mary Black. I'm the founder of Radical Futures Lab, and we are YZ Media. We're a Zillennial media group for Zillennials by Zillennials.
So, Mary, do you hear about that WRL article yesterday?
No, I don't think I have.
What was it about? They were talking about that there's about two sides to gentrification. That's what it was.
April Fools.
You guys, we start off with that joke because all of us love local media. But we say that with very, strong conviction today, with knowing that there are some deep injustices done to Raleigh by our governments and our infrastructures and our policies. And the community has been fighting for years, for decades, for centuries, for millenniums, since the beginning of time, to be able to get some basic human rights. And since this pandemic, we've seen all of our rights, our livelihood, our way to be human really decrease. And so it's why, we decided as millennials, as Gen Zers, as Zillennials, to really own up to what the media should look like and what voices should be heard in this moment and listened to, regardless of how the tone might come off or how you might think of all the different politics. We are people with lived experiences in various different aspects of a lot of different fields, like the climate. And we care about things like the trees and the water and the air, because those are our resources that we need. So we're here today to uplift our community as a whole, as humans, but to also allow and point to clearly what, we're hearing that a lot of different organizations in Raleigh are calling for. And what we're hearing is that there needs to be a move to this public hearing that's happening on Tuesday, that's at iftar time. And so, let's start with that, right? Like, do I need to define what iftar time is, Mary, do you think? Or do you know anything? Like, what is this public hearing that's going on?
I think you should dive into some of the aspects of how them having this meeting during this really important day and what it signifies and the people that are being most impacted. Because if I do understand, the Western BRT is in the largest Muslim community in Wake County or in Raleigh.
They don't take our numbers on the census, so I believe it's the biggest Muslim county in North Carolina, that Raleigh is almost 7 to 10% Muslim, and that we've been here for centuries, and that our community has always been erased and marginalized. Like, we have the largest masjid here in the Southeast. We have over 50 nationalities. There's so many languages. There's no community engagement in any language. There's no consideration of the fact that this is a sacred religious month. Muslims get ready for it all year to be able to participate in this month and to be able to participate in the resilience and the spiritual resilience and wellness that this month gives Muslims, to allow them to bear the harms of the infrastructures and the ways that communities don't accept us, because sometimes we're looked at weird or a little bit different because we decide to believe in God. And because of that, there's this this culture of giving back and service, and that's never something that I think will be accepted. And for me, I'm tired as a Muslim woman to give my life to service and then never be taken care of by any of my government structures in any case, in any of my livelihood. And so today we are calling for to move the public hearing um, for adding the area that the Western BRT is planned for to the Raleigh 2030 Comprehensive Plan, which was created in 2009. So this is an amendment hearing. It's a public hearing, and it is required in order to move this forward. And yes, there's been info on Western BRT, but this specifically allows tax dollars to move towards our this area. And there's a lot of different transportation bonds that have also been passed. So it allows us to really put money and public tax money towards an area that we haven't done any like land use and aspects on either. And and just hearing also that there's a unity day on on Saturday on Ramadan with the mayor, like, anyways, let's start this off. Wanda, I could talk forever about this, so I'm going to introduce our first guest speaker today, from Wake County Housing Justice, is Wanda A. Gilbert Coker, and she will come up here and she will speak on the housing justice in Raleigh. Thanks, Wanda.
Hello, everyone. I am here. Thank you for inviting me. Contacted Zainab and others a while back because know that follow us with Wake County Housing Justice Coalition, that we have always been doing work throughout Raleigh, and especially in Southeast Raleigh, where we've seen the gentrification and genocide, and um, communities, the Black community like College Park and South Park, become like 132% gentrified. So as the and we were also doing work in Heritage Park, which is a Raleigh Housing Authority property, and we got word that that they were going to come through and tear down and build up something different than what the community wanted. And we've seen in the past what that means through Chavis, Walnut Terrace, through history, that means people being pushed and forced out, shut out of their own communities, not being able to move back despite what government officials say. So as we were in Heritage Park, which is part of the Western BRT, we got more information and realized, hey, they're moving, towards Method as well, the Method community, which is the oldest African American community in Raleigh, North Carolina. And that personally affected me because I used to live there. And so as we got more information, we realized there was another Raleigh Housing Authority property involved, Kentwood. And then we realized there were Muslim businesses and housing around the mosque, and immigrant businesses and immigrants who speak various languages, as Zainab just mentioned, who had no idea what they're getting ready to do. So I alerted my cohorts, my my friends, and others that are on here, and said, hey, we have to do something. So working also as being a founder of MAB Got to Go, I've already seen her in action while she was there for her 12 years in city council. So as mayor, I've already, I saw things progress on the gentrification. You can look at the New York Times article and go back and the Shame, shame, shame on y'all. Especially considering knowing that you feel plantation. You all don't even know if gentrification, because they once said there was two sides to slavery, and there were benefits to slavery. Well, the only people who benefited are the same people who are going to benefit from this gentrification. So shame on you all, WRL, posing that white supremacist narrative. So we're here. We contacted and we said, let's let others know the best way can. Not only they're gonna have this hearing, they're gonna have it during Ramadan, which is so insensitive. That's the way City of Raleigh does things, and we just want to inform and our community the best way we can. We have to take media in our own hands. So all of you that are listening to this, please let your friends, family, businesses, because last time businesses were involved downtown Rock, you know, business around Western Boulevard will also be impacted. Yeah, that is why we're here. This has to stop. Black land has been taken. They have a history of taking black land in the United States and calling it and putting nice terms and words on it like BRT and other things to make it seem okay. This is not okay because first of all, the people didn't ask for it, meaning the impacted community didn't ask for it. Now, some other people who are going to benefit financially may have asked for it, but we, the people, didn't ask for it. So I just wanted to, say that, and I'll let others speak. And if there are any questions, I'm here to answer. But the media, please stay on this because, again, you all saw what happened in Southeast Raleigh. That's the model. What in a continuation that is happening on Western Boulevard, and around the surrounding areas. Now it's affecting Muslim community, immigrant communities, and let me say this too for you all that are listening. It is also affecting this time um, our white sisters and brothers more so than it did in Southeast Raleigh. So we're hearing from them that they're upset. And if you're really upset, what are you going to do about it at this time? Are you going to just sit back and just let them do it? Or are you going to, stand up and vote them out or what? So I'll pass it on back to Zainab.
Thank you, Wanda, that for all of that. That was really informative and important to hear. Next, we're going to be hearing from Hua Huang, who's also from the Witt County Housing Justice and Coalition, to talk more about how this issue intersects into
Hi, yeah, thanks again, Zainab and Mary, for inviting me to this space to talk about the redistricting. There are many organizations and coalitions who've been involved in the redistricting issues, specifically with Raleigh. There's Southern Coalition for Social Justice, NC Count Pueblo, and many others. And you know, this past few weeks, at least, when I brought up the issue with redistricting, people you often think about the redistricting in the context of what's happening on the statewide level. Um, Not many really take into consideration of what's happening on the city level. So uh, I'm gonna take this opportunity to make this very specific and very clear. What I'm talking about is not just an over. It's not just about an overarching problem with gerrymandering, redistricting that people like to talk about, like it's not affiliated with something close to home. I am talking specifically about what happened on March 1st, 2022 here in the city of Raleigh. This is where the city voted 7-1 to move multiple majority minority precincts into a wider area, which effectively dilutes Black voting power here in Raleigh. And I'm going to read to you some of the. So the Southern Coalition for Social Justice has sent a letter to the City Council, and I'm going to try to summarize the best I can on their issues and concerns with the city. So here's a number of things that they have done. The City Council has voted to accept the redistricting option that move at least 2 majority minority precincts to less diverse district, and that reduce voting power of community who live in the precincts. They have, during the meeting on March 1st, at least, discussed redistricting option as if it's purely a geographical issue and completely ignoring the comments presented by Ms. Angeline Echeverria. I apologize if I did not pronounce the name right. Ms. Angeline is the executive director of Pueblo. She's a resident of Brentwood, which is a neighborhood comprised of diverse immigrant families. She has implored during the public hearing for the city council not to separate their communities and put them in a wider district. But no, the city continued to talk about the issue afterward like it's purely about geography. They're taking this in a purely colorblind context, which often brings harm to a lot of the communities of color. And the other issue I have with the city is that on March 1st, 2022, I'm going to repeat this date because not just a general issue, this is a specific thing, and I wish that more news media would talk about this. March 1st, the city accepted the city attorney's statement that the council does not need to follow Voters' Rights Act Section 2, to which the Southern Coalition for Social Justice stated that there is, and I quote, no legal basis to claim that Raleigh is not covered by Section 2 of the Voters' Rights Act. So basically, the city council working with the city attorney to not only undermine voting powers of Black and immigrant community, but to also mislead the voters in the city of Raleigh of their own voting right. And they're not working to upholding Raleigh residents' right to vote, and they're undermining the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which is about the issue of racial discrimination in voting.
Wanda, well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Wanda got something to say.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Wanda. Wanda, you're still muted.
Wanda, you're still muted. She's frozen. But you know what? I think that, what she wanted to say was she really wanted to say something about Unity Day. Do you think you know what she wanted to say?
No, as far as the Unity Day is concerned, you brought up some of the issues with how it's happening on a day when Muslim community can't exactly show up. But I would like to defer to I would like to actually defer to Wanda to talk about this. So when she looks like she's actually dropped off, so
yeah, well, tech difficulties. All right, Mary, we got you. So, I think one aspect that Wanda had talked about a lot, but also us just talking together was that this Unity Day is meant to celebrate all cultures, which is great. It's a great initiative. It's a good thing, but the fact is, it's an election year. It's also on during the first weekend of Ramadan. Again, it's a time where tax money is being used for people to be able to come and get food, enjoy themselves, in a time where it's a month where people are fasting from sunrise to sunset. Like, it's a difficult month. Like, you have to adjust your whole schedule. Like, to know that our city is like, okay, like the first time we're going to decide to do Unity Day, it's to celebrate all cultures, is a day where we can't really fully participate in our democracy in this sense, because anything that is public money being used, it's part of our democracy. It's a way to engage citizens. So you know what, on that, I know Mary, there's been a lot this week in general, and I know that, you know, we just talked about just last week was the climate, global climate strike, and about the theme of, you know, people and not profits, and the world, and what we got to do about that. So, you know, can you educate the people about Raleigh? Thank you.
I can educate the people about Raleigh and talk more about like how this like sort of issue takes shape across the country. So urban design is not neutral. It either perpetuates or reduces social inequities within a city. This is often a difficult thing for most urban planners to wrap their minds around because they are taught that they are good and that they make communities better and that they're oftentimes the bringers of these solutions that these cities have. And in many cases, that may be true. But one of the issues that I feel that we as climate advocates do not talk about enough is the issue with green climate gentrification. There's a study from 2019 by a research team that delved into how vulnerable populations are experiencing residential and social displacement. So in the short term and the midterm, from green climate infrastructure and its associated gentrification risk, their research actually considered this an emerging fifth type of climate injustice, really because these populations contribute the least to climate change, but are experiencing the most climate hazards and its effects, all while having had the least access to environmental amenities. So there's really a call for climate research to identify the inequities within urban green resilience planning and to demystify the supposed benefits of green climate intervention. So green infrastructure planning often minimizes or overlooks the negative impacts for socially vulnerable communities. Because this planning is often taken over by the investors, the real estate developers, etc. And you can look in the case in point that happened with the Boston Harbor Plan, which builds green adaptation measures using private financing resources and tools that are costly. And these things ignore the interests of the communities that are being changed, which are primarily communities of colors. And many of these green developments instead are designed for higher income residents to take part in this world that they want to create. And these improvements to these neighborhoods through green infrastructure means that the vulnerable populations are losing their neighborhoods altogether. Generally, bus rapid transit, or the BRT, are high quality, efficient mass transportation modes that provide capacity and speed comparable with urban rails, light as well as heavy urban rails. But in short, better transit can make cities better. However, history does reveal how racism is embedded in nearly every planning decision in America, often hiding right beneath a very gilded surface like we have here in Raleigh. Transit in particular has often enabled and supported racist systems, while improved transit generally is a major force for racial injustice and shrinking the equality gaps that we have. If the communities who are most impacted aren't included, then it isn't equitable design. And the communities that are being impacted here are Methodist, which is the oldest Black community of Raleigh, the largest Muslim community in Wake County, as well as other Black and immigrant communities such as Heritage Park, Kentwood, Arbor Creek, and they're all just being left out of the conversation. So for those in the transit sector, as they develop in the decision-making process, and what kind of transit services we should provide, and where and how to provide it, you must take a step back and really ask yourself, are you willing to have uncomfortable conversations? Are you willing to share your power? And will you continue to perpetuate racism in the systems that we work in? What we've seen here in Raleigh time and time again is city governments that has lowered the ability of its residents to engage with the decisions that are directly affecting their lives. We saw this when they disbanded the citizen advisory councils, as well as last year when they decided to make an unprecedented move to extend their office terms another year. And we're seeing this also this year as City Council member Patrick Buffkin, as Wa mentioned, questioned if the city had to follow the Federal Voting Rights Act as the city approved the new gerrymandered districts. So how are we visioning and building a city where we can all thrive when we leave people out of the conversation that are most impacted? These top-down green planning process that is not community driven, excludes residents, and is basically what someone would call colorblind adaptation planning. The issues with green climate and gentrification is that today we see social and cultural exclusion from the green resilience. Tomorrow we will see displacement because of real estate and increased housing costs to previously affordable areas, which leads to more exposure of impacted people to climate risk and ultimately even greater difficulty to adapt from them. The city must recognize the racial reality of the communities that they are impacting. The city council has a duty to move on the vote the vote on the BRT to a date not during Ramadan, so directly impacting the residents that have the opportunity to voice their thoughts on the community. Moreover, I challenge everyone who is tuning in right now to start raising the bar on their climate advocacy. Before applauding at the next green initiative, find out if the neighborhood's excluded from the process and if they are going to suffer displacement because of what's happening. When there's a new green initiative, call for safeguards to protect neighborhoods from displacement. That's equity, that's justice, and that ought to be how we vision the future of Raleigh.
That was everything I would like to see for the future of Raleigh. Thank you, Mary. Like, honestly, especially as a Muslim woman, like, just hearing someone who's an organizer, a climate activist, have and understand me as a person is it's liberating. So appreciate it. On that, we are going to introduce Faisal Khan from Carolina Peace Center.
Thank you, Zainab. Thank you, everybody. It's wonderful to be here on this panel and a very important press conference. So first of all, I want to send out a message to the city of Raleigh, the mayor and all the council members, is that it is shameful and disrespectful to hold this meeting during the holy month of Ramadan. And I think that I'm really disappointed and hurt as an American Muslim, not only for myself, but for the Muslim Americans and by extension, other minority communities, Black and brown communities and immigrant communities, who I feel that are constantly being marginalized with racial injustices, with racist policies. And this is not the first time where the Muslim American community has been treated with disrespect and being constantly being a victim of negligence, Islamophobia, anti-Muslim bigotry. We can start from going to the anti-Sharia bill that was passed in the North Carolina legislature that was obviously targeting the faith of Islam and Muslim Americans. We can go to see what happened to our wonderful three children, Muslim children, that were killed in Chapel Hill. Initially, the media, including the Chapel Police Department, had come out and said that it was a parking dispute until obviously when the police had admitted later on that it was a hate crime. And we continue to see the rise of Islamophobia, anti-Muslim bigotry, not to mention there are a lot of hate groups in the state of North Carolina. And there's documentation there that's well documented that so many people and families are targeted because of their faith, because women are wearing hijab. And North Carolina has a Islamophobia problem. North Carolina has an anti-Muslim bigotry. And so the last thing you want to see is in the holy month of Ramadan, which is very dear, one of the most important tenets in Islam, where this meeting is taking place. Now, with that, it is also problematic to see that we continue to see the gentrification, the marginalization of Black and brown communities, constantly pushing them away. We're constantly seeing this in North Carolina and beyond across this country. And instead of having a very serious conversation, discussion, making sure that Black communities, especially Black communities and brown communities, are not targeted, are not pushed out from their own homes and from their own dwellings, this city continues to go on, including with their police policies. The police chief, the police department itself continues to maintain their policies. And we continue to see time after time where Black and brown people are targeted differently than white communities, white people. And it's time that I think that we need to admit and acknowledge as a whole city that there is a problem when it comes to Black and brown communities and Muslims. And I'm really disturbed that the mayor has decided, the city of Raleigh have decided to hold this meeting in this holy month of Ramadan. The Ramadan starts tomorrow, and they are well aware of that. We're not living in 1800s. They are well aware of that. I mean, would they hold a meeting like this on Easter or on Christmas or Passover? No, they will not do that. It's disrespectful. You need to be respectful to the community. And they need to understand that Muslim Americans are just not small minorities living somewhere in the village. We're becoming a really important part of this democratic process and making significant contributions to our economy and democracy. So I'm really disappointed at this point. Now, we can continue to go on how, this leads to immigrant communities are constantly being targeted, neglected, mistreated, abused. We see what's been going on in our southern borders, which obviously under Trump administration, things were really bad. And by the way, things haven't really changed much. Unfortunately, I'm really disappointed with the Biden administration. And we also see how in this city, we continue to see problems with the immigrant communities. More and more immigrant communities now are coming here. More and more refugees are coming from different parts of the world. We see refugees coming from Afghanistan. We're seeing refugees coming from Congo, from Africa. And we have a housing problem here. The cost of living is exponentially too high. I mean, people living here that are from here cannot make their ends meet, cannot afford to get housing. How they expect these immigrant refugee communities coming here, how are they going to resettle? How are they going to find affordable housing? So a lot of these relief agencies now are placing these people in hotels, in motels, because they're having a very difficult time finding affordable housing. And to me, it's another disappointment to see that the city has not taken any concrete initiatives to provide affordable housing for these communities. I mean, it's just like they're left in limbo, and they're on their own. So, we can say all we want. We got a lot of investments. Apple is moving, a lot of IT companies, big universities, Duke basketball, UNC basketball. Yay, great, good for everybody. But, when it comes to minority communities, Black and brown communities, when it comes to immigrants and refugees, they don't seem to have a voice. So that's why we're holding this press conference to make it very clear and crystal to the city of Raleigh and to people to understand that this needs to change. This pattern, this behavior, these kind of policies that are constantly targeting Black and brown communities and immigrants and refugees need to stop. We've seen what's been going on globally. Just recently, what's been happening in Ukraine. We saw how Black communities, Black immigrants in Ukraine were treated differently than white refugees from Ukraine. We saw how they were stopped from going to train. As a matter of fact, as of right now, there's some of them that are being detained. They're in the detention center. Their phones have been taken away just because of their color. We saw how media, including the American media, differentiate and were so racist and prejudiced, and they clearly showed their bias, talking about how European refugees are different than the other refugees, refugees coming from Middle East or Africa. And it was shameful. I mean, this was, there was an outcry, global outcry and outrage about how the Western media, European and American media had come out, and have clearly draw the line that, European refugees are different. So this plays right into the white supremacy, the ideology that, you're a better race. And we're seeing that effects in our local communities. So I think it's time that City of Raleigh understands that the demographics of this country is changing. Black and brown communities, Muslims are becoming an integral part of this American politics. Whether they like it or not, things are going to change eventually. Our youth is rising. They're getting more engaged politically. They're going to make a profound impact on our economics and our democratic process, whether they like it or not. But right now, I'm extremely disappointed as a community organizer, as one of the community leaders here. I'm extremely disappointed how this process has taken forth without realizing and understanding the sensitivity issue of Ramadan. Also trying to pull this bus line in Western Boulevard, not realizing that Black communities have been living there for a very long time. And we continue to see this whole process of gentrification. This is what we call institutionalized racism. So I think that it's important now to understand that they cannot just go on blatantly, just keep on implementing these policies without realizing that they're having a tremendous, profound, hurtful impact on Black and brown communities, on Muslims and immigrants and refugees. Thank you.
And
Go, Wanda, go.
Yes, I'm back. everything plus to everything Faisal said. And one thing I want to start off with what he said, about this bus line. As far as what the community asked for, if the city of Raleigh was truly listening, we didn't ask for the bus line. We asked for affordable housing. And when we say affordable, we're talking about 30% of the AMI and below. That is what we've been hollering and screaming for at least 16 plus years. So buses already run over there. And at least 4 different bus services run over off of Western Boulevard. We didn't ask for a bus, another type of bus line, a bus route, or whatever it is they're trying to bring. This is just another way for them to gentrify the community. And so another thing we want to address is Unity Day. They are holding Mayor's Unity Day during Ramadan as well. Well, if it was truly around serving unity, bringing unity to the city of Raleigh, there would be they would include other communities to make sure that there would be inclusion. Um, well, if it's during Ramadan, there's no possible way they know that those who practice Islam could be there. So it's intentional and very insensitive to hold Unity Day during Ramadan. Again, the city of Raleigh, Mayor Marianne Baldwin, they use these words: equity, inclusion, diversity, all these other words to get funding from the federal government, to sound good on the media, to get votes and things like that. But in all actuality, the reason we're here now having this press conference is because it does not exist. And let me say this: you do not have to create a board or a commission or have meetings actually to have diversity, inclusion, equity. Um, all those things begin with something called humanity. And the reason they're absent in the city of Raleigh is because white supremacy is so embedded in the city of Raleigh. Those who in the decision makers in the history of the city of Raleigh, going all the way back to them participating in the Wilmington massacre. Um, that we know those who live it, that those are just words. So for them to have this during this time of the year, again, insensitive, but not surprising. And this is the Human Relations Commission, who should know better. um I personally know people who serve on that commission and are very fond of some of those people. Um, but when you are centered in the community, and have relationships with people in the community, you would already know what's going on in the community. And how, and so that's part of the issue there. And also, again, this goes back to the lack of humanity, and also goes back to white supremacy, Islamophobia, um, um, racism, institutionalized racism, systemic oppression. All those things still run rapid in the decision making processes of the city of Raleigh. That is why we have gentrification, genocide, and all the list of other things that we've mentioned here today. And again, at some point, we can keep creating all these fake mock boards that, you know, we're going to create a board for this and a board for that and meet. But in reality, it's just a false narrative. It's just to say we're really doing something to have it, but have checks and boxes on paper. But what they really, again, it's really not changing anything. So what's the real change is that we vote in people, vote them out, vote in people who have humanity.
Hey, Juan.
Honestly,
I
yes.
don't want to be Marianne Baldwin, but I do know we got a lot of questions from the audience, and I'm like,
Oh, okay. I apologize.
I know you can go forever, so I hope I did this as gently as possible.
No, that's
But I
fine.
don't got no gavel, so we're good. So we have questions from the audience. We have questions from reporters. We have some engagement stuff. I do want to say, you know, first off, you know, we're getting comments from a lot of different Facebooks, and you know, we got one right up here. You know, Conrad James. You're sitting over here. Hey, Wanda, don't trust Conrad James. Don't trust him. He's an op. Don't trust him. All right, next. So. First, Anna Johnson. Has the city responded to the concern about holding the public hearing during Ramadan? Who wants to take it? Anna Johnson from News and Observer.
Please. I have personally have not heard anything. Faisal, you sent it out. Have you heard anything? Is she still okay?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again, please?
It's from Anna Johnson. Has the city responded to the concern about holding the public hearing during Ramadan?
Have I heard anything? I have not heard anything.
So I did. I brought this up to Councilor David Cox, and he said that he would take it up with council. So that's where I'm at.
I mean, I would add, council should have not even had that meeting to begin with. They should have been very mindful of this holiday, and this isn't on the calendar. Wake County observes the Eid holiday. School is closed. I mean, this is no, you know, it's not a mystery. Everybody knows about it. We're living in 2022, so they should have been very mindful and conscientious about and be sensitive to Muslim Americans living in Wake County. And you know, like you said, Zainab, they're one of the biggest mosques here, and thriving community, and media is well aware. It's just, to me, you know, surprising to me.
I mean, I ran for office. Like, what you mean? You know, you're aware. Like, you know, there's Muslims. This plan was put into place November 2019. Man, I wonder who wouldn't have been paying attention after running election for mayor.
I would like to say too that the planning department is the one who proposed this meeting and put it on the books. So the first responsibility starts with the planning department. The planning department gets funding from the federal government to hold these meetings in our community. They need to take a lot of responsibility of not understanding our culture, our spiritual practices, and going out in the community and not putting these letters and things in various languages, and not having people part of the planning department that look like us. Every time I go to city council meeting, the people that stand up and speak about things that's going to happen in my community don't look like me. That's a problem. So that's where the real problem starts, right there. Forgot his name, and I don't even truly have to remember it. But the director of the planning department and others, that's where it starts. They need more people. I really have a problem that, you know, A&T University and some of these major other community universities throughout the city of Raleigh, throughout the state of North Carolina, why they are not doing internships with those schools and bringing black and brown and immigrant and other students to the city of Raleigh for an internship and keeping them here to if they're talking about urban planning. To be honest, how can a white person from Idaho do some urban planning? That makes no sense. That's the problem, real problem right there. And then once it was put on the books, City of Raleigh, someone there should have taken responsibility. But and then it also goes back to, the reason planning felt like they could get away with it because of the temperature and the atmosphere that's going on. When you have a Patrick Buffkin making racist statements during a city council meeting about black women and about a black community such as Heritage Park and so on, and then the two black city council people, Stormy Ford and Corey Branch, and then the first black city manager, Marshall, don't even correct him on his racism ever. That is why this.
Ooh.
That is why this continues.
Where's my
He
music?
That's not Patrick Buffkin around the voting rights. That's not his first time making blatant racist comments.
5.
And you got three. You got the first black LGBTQ person, woman, Stormy Ford. Corey Branch, a black man city councilor. First black woman, city manager. And they sat up there and let them make these blatant racist, prejudiced comments about the black community, immigrant communities,
Look at
say
that
things
comment.
that's out of pocket. And
Wanda, we got a comment. We got a comment. It says, if this is an oversight by the council of a major religious holiday, it's more evidence that we need more diversity on the Raleigh Council. That represents the shared experiences of our community. And on that, unless people have more questions and etc., because I know all of us are organizers, but we're also workers. We got meetings to do and stuff like that. So, and it's Friday prayer. It's Ramadan. I also actually have to get there, but I know other people have a few more things to say. But before that, I do want to highlight the demand that we're asking, and it is that the demand that we as an organization, but also we as a coalition, as people, as humans, as organizers and as organizations, and people who care for the community as community builders, that we, faith in community leaders, we demand that the City of Raleigh delay the public hearing on the Wake BRT Western Boulevard Corridor Study and CP 1021 amendments that is scheduled for April 5th, 2022, to ensure that all of the communities impacted by this environmental and housing injustice have ample time to find out how to prevent the City of Raleigh from taking their land, housing, and businesses, just like they did in College Park and Southeast Raleigh. Anyone else?
I have a comment I want to make, and then I wanted to read something from the press statement so folks will hear it here if they didn't get to read it. So first of all, regarding diversity on Raleigh Council, I just want to make a note that as a member of the LGBTQ community myself, there's apparently a real issue with how people select LGBTQ representative and leadership. Sage Martin, Jonathan Melton, Stormy Ford, I don't feel like, even from the context of wealth and racial inequality, I do not feel like they represent someone like me. They don't represent people who may have, I'm just gonna say it straight, there is the community that I'm in, the queer community I'm in, also experience a lot of chronic illness issues, autoimmune issues, disabilities. They don't represent any of that either. They represent people who are of the higher wealth bracket. So when we choose people,
say it.
We need to be very careful about what's even more important is what policy they stand for. Will they speak for the people who are impacted? Will they speak for and work with the people who are vulnerable community? It's not enough to just select someone who's simply a person of color or someone who's simply an LGBTQ. I don't feel like any of the council who identify LGBTQ up there right now in Raleigh represent people like me. I'm just gonna say that out here right now.
Yeah,
okay.
and And I want to say I don't feel like any of the Black people there represent the Black community. So
I ain't got no representation, so
Yeah.
I guess I got nobody to
So on that,
criticize.
same vein, I want to bring up another demand regarding the Mayor Unity Day. So we here in the community, we demand that the Raleigh Human Relations Commission to remove the word mayor from the upcoming event Mayor's Unity Day, considering Mayor Marianne Baldwin's many transgressions. These include and are limited to her blatant intolerance to Black women during city council meetings, many of her other decisions that bring direct harm to the endangerment and genocide of the Black Muslim immigrant communities in Raleigh through gentrification, the targeting of the working class, working poor, Black, brown, LGBTQ folks, allowing Raleigh Police Department to partner with Israeli security forces. And that's something I think, Zainab, you have some more understanding towards as well. And furthermore, we demand that the Human Relations Commission should never stage another event using taxpayers' money during a municipal election just so that the current mayor and city council can get free exposure. I'm not just talking about this one, but also the ones in the future.
Thank you, Paul. On that, all right, I mean, why you brought it up, you know, we got to talk about the fact that the Raleigh police, chief of police came to the North Raleigh Masjid last week, Thursday, and sat there and, you know, really talked about just how everything is fine and that the police are there to serve us. And it was tough, especially as a youth who's, you know, grew up with childhood friends that were murdered in the 2015 Chapel Hill shootings. Dia Yassin Razan, you know, I went to school since third grade with Dia. We had the experience of 9/11 together at an Islamic school in Raleigh that was closed, and before then there were no police at masjids for 9/11. After 9/11 there was a lot of police, but they were there because our communities have been harassed and targeted from radical white supremacist groups. And so there's a tough history with policing and how it integrates in the Muslim communities, and it's not as easy as just, you know, being able to like get rid of the police, because then you have to have insurances for buildings, and you have to, you know, train your own forces, or you have to figure out how to protect yourselves as communities. So on that, today is Friday. Mary, I want to give you a chance, or Faisal, or what, do you guys have anything, any last second?
Got a comment from Jimmy Gilchrist. Serve who? That is my question. The gentrifiers? Yeah. Yeah.
I mirror, I think, everything that has been said on this panel. I think if you are able to make it out to the city council meeting that's happening next week, make your voice heard. Hopefully somebody on city council will hear what we've been saying and hear the concerns of the community and make the move themselves. But if not, I definitely think it's necessary for the people who can make it to talk about the intersectional realities of how not only it's affecting housing and gentrification, but also these different faith and immigrant communities that really can't meaningfully engage. Like, I think it reflects deeply the issues that are going on in this city. And I think it's purposeful almost. So if you are able to engage, come out and make those two demands, because I think it's necessary and it needs to be done. It's a major oversight by our city council, but it's not surprising.
You can sign up on the website on the City Raleigh website for public hearing or general public comment by this coming Monday at 5 p.m.
When's the meeting? When do you have to sign up by?
Monday, 5 p.m. I will share the website shortly.
Real quick, Zainab, is that I think the city proclaims to be a very multicultural, diversified city. I'm sorry, it's not. This is not a city for all the people. It's a city for only few and for the rich. And I'm sorry to say that, mostly for the white community. And if you want to make this a city for everybody, it's not in the words, but it's in the actions, by showing and respecting people's faith and respecting people's sovereignty, where they live, their livelihood, their homes, their streets, their backyards, and how policing operates and how they treat people that don't look white, how the Black and brown people, the LGBT community as well, and Muslims communities that have constantly been targeted. And I'm going to add this and I'm going to end here. What we see at the federal level, what we see at the presidential level, what we see in Washington is a reflection of how municipal elections are run. They actually fuel the federal policies. So the change begins right here in our city. Change begins in our council seat. Change begins with the mayor who either is with us or it's time to change and get another mayor who's going to show that he or she is the person
Yes.
for all. Thank you.
I know Wanda, I was going to comment on what you said. If you wanted to say it, you can say it.
I don't know. I want to say very much as a founder of MAB Got to Go. I mean, I identified this years and years ago. I did not have to wait for, certain things to happen. As soon as they got rid of the CACs, and let me say, a lot of disengagement with the Muslim communities, immigrant communities, and such could have happened with the CACs. But they, again, let Sage Martin, who they don't like to bring up, Nicole voted and did the second. They dismantled the CACs to make sure there would be no engagement, so that and so they could disenfranchise and marginalize our community, so we would not know what's going on. So now they're scrambling around and trying to pretend they want us to know what's going on the back end. But it's too late, and it's all a frenzy. And so what I want to say, and I'll just be real blatant around it. If we are truly tired of this, we're gonna first of all stop talking and organize. Well, no, we can keep talking. We can multitask, keep talking, but we have to organize and get behind candidates who feel the same way we do, that have humanity, that show compassion, empathy, and all of that, but also have a platform that's truly inclusive, that you don't have to create some department or such to know what inclusiveness, diversity, and all those things truly mean, that you can see it. So we need to vote Marianne Bowen out and all the others out, and put in a brand new city council. We cannot do that without you, the people, because one thing they have, white supremacists, such as John Kane and such, with all that money that are going to keep them in power, so they can keep disenfranchising us and causing harm to our community. So if those who are being impacted and harmed in any type of way, whether it's gentrification, genocide, other ways, we have to come together, organize, and get them out and get behind these candidates who are running for office, and put other city council people in place. Then those people can help make changes within the city government, through the city manager, through the housing, like Larry Jarvis, who needs to go, through planning department, and they can hire and get rid of or make suggestions. I know it goes through city manager, but they can put pressure there to make sure that when they're hiring and those people are making decisions, those directors of those departments, when they're making decisions and hiring, that those people reflect our community. So this press conference is not just because we don't have anything else to do. We must apply pressure. And starting today, find out who else is running for office other than them. If you don't know, contact us. We will let you know. But they must go. No ifs, ands, or buts. They're going to come out with stories
Wait,
and
we
things
got anyone
afterwards.
here running for office?
Huh?
I said, Melinda, you running for office?
Who else who's running for office? Mary Black is running for office. Hey, but district A, is that it? And they did all that gerrymandering, redistricting. Again, that is going to lead to gentrification over there. But again, that's a whole nother thing why they did that. But if we are going to really change things, we have to get them out. And like I said, contact us. We will start working on these people campaign, start working but with these candidates. Because one thing, like I said, they may have money, but we have people power. And that's what we're begging and asking you to do. Vote them out.
Vote them out, y'all. Just vote them out. Or vote them in.
Vote them in what?
By Mary. I meant Mary. Just vote.
Oh, okay. Well,
Just
no,
for that.
I don't want to confuse anyone.
Wanda was
People
like,
don't
vote
know.
who
Let's
in?
vote.
Vote on that, y'all. We gotta go. We got work. We got things to do. But also, thank you for joining us. We had some amazing comments. Amazing people mentioned a lot of amazing things. And you can see our demands here on the live. We demand that the City of Raleigh delays the public hearing scheduled at fast-breaking time on April 5th, 2022 at Western Blvd BRT, and that we demand that the Human Relations Commission never stage another event using taxpayer money during the municipal elections just so that the current mayor and city council can get free exposure. You know our demands are clear. Council, let us know. We're here. You know our emails, our social media. You know who we are. Don't act like you don't. So peace to them. Take care, y'all. Let everybody know. Peace. We're safe.
Thank you very much.